don't often talk about football and Manchester United on this channel. I mean, the name on the door is Movies TV Man, but I'm a huge Manchester United fan, and I've loved United ever since we lost the league to Blackburn. So it's been a big love affair between me and Manchester United, and nothing hurts me more than seeing what's happening to our club. But the die was cast back in 2005. In fact, the die was cast back in 1998 when B Sky B tried to purchase us and failed. Ultimately, maybe that purchase would have been better than being bought by the Glazers. We'll never know. But the fans fought, and the Monopolies and Mergers Committee threw the deal out. We were basically a club that was owned by different shareholders. Martin Edwards, then later on David Gill, ran our club impeccably alongside Sir Alex Ferguson. So this weekend, a lot of hopes and dreams for Manchester United supporters were blown out the window when apparently, if you believe Fabrizio Romano, that Qatar, Sheikh Mansour, or whatever you call the gentleman, has walked away from purchasing Manchester United. So first of all, what has happened here? So last year, the Glazers announced that they were looking into further investment. They are selling the club completely. Now, this was their statement. So a few firms gave them some offers of investment. But there was two offers on the table to buy the club from Qatar. Well, actually, it's not the main Qatar guy. It's the son of Qatar who doesn't have the money that the main dude has, to be clear. And we were told that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos were also interested in buying a majority stake, not a minority, but a majority stake in the club. We later found out that Sir Jim's majority stake wouldn't be as much. The offer wasn't as much on the table as it was from Qatar. Qatar wanted to buy the entire club. They wanted to pay off the debt. They wanted to be debt-free. They had big plans for the club. They wanted to run the club properly. The problem with Qatar, of course, is we would be state-owned. We could lose our identity. And they have a disgusting attitude towards the LGBTQ community. Also, allegedly, their actions against that community haven't been great in their own state. So there was problems. Now, I was one of the people who wanted Qatar to buy Manchester United, not because I approve of their views on the LGBT community, but because I love my club. They have deep pockets, as I've already said. They were offering to pay off the debt and run us properly, the way City and Newcastle are run. So if you love United, you kind of think, yeah, why not? And you leave your morals by the door. So why has this deal broken down? Why what's gone wrong? Well, if you listen to reports, it's because the Glazers' feelings were hurt because of what was in the original proposal, that they were saying they pay off the debt, blah, 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 which apparently offended the Glazers. This is absolute bollocks. I don't know where these reporters, it's like telling a Jackanory, isn't it? It's like telling a story. Right. The reason that, apparently Qatar have walked away is because the Glazers for the past year have been playing this tug of war with Qatar. Qatar have been offering 5, nearly 6 billion, but basically, give it to you straight, the Glazers either wanted a minority stakeholder investment or they wanted someone to buy the club for around 10 billion. That's right, 10 billion. Now, some people say that's overinflated. We're talking about Manchester United, one of the biggest empires, biggest industries, biggest businesses, biggest sporting concerns in the world. Some people may think that's fanciful in today's terms, but it's not. Because if you buy Manchester United, you can stand to make a lot of money. It's an excuse to print money. As Martin Edwards proved with selling wine and everything with the Manchester United label on it. Because we were successful, we could make money. It was Edwards that made United a place. It was Edwards that created the term an excuse to print money. That's why Qatar have apparently walked away. I don't think they've walked away. I think after a year, the Glazers have evaluated all the offers and said, sorry, we've given you a year. You haven't raised your bid enough. We want more money for this club because this club, as I've already said, is an excuse to print money. They didn't offer what the Glazers wanted. So now, by the way, there's going to be a board meeting on Thursday at United to either ratify a deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe for 25%, a 25% minority stake in the club. And I want to give you a comparison to another deal from the entertainment industry so you understand what's going on here. Because there's a lot of noise, there's lots of people angry because Qatar have apparently walked away. I'm not convinced that Qatar have totally walked away. There could be another twist before Thursday. But also there may not be another twist and Sir Jim may buy his minority stake. So what does this minority stake mean? And I think it's better for me to explain the situation rather than talking about our club being fucked or, you know, getting involved with all the noise. Oh, Qatar are bad. Oh, it's a celebration because Qatar walked away. Oh, it's bad for our club. I don't want to get involved in all of that. We are where we are. We love Manchester United. We want to know what the future holds rather than just telling you that United are fucked. So, about 2 or 3 years ago, or years before that, the cable and wireless company AT&T purchased Warner Brothers, the Hollywood studio in its entirety. They ran the company into the ground because they had no idea how to run an entertainment studio. So they went to David Zaslav of Discovery and merged Warner Brothers with Discovery. So basically what happened is Discovery invested a minority stake of 25% like Sir Jim is proposing at United. But what happened was Discovery would be running the entertainment side and their CEO, the CEO of Discovery, David Zaslav, will be the CEO of the newly formed merge, Warner Brothers Discovery. Now this is what they're looking to do with this INEOS kind of deal of a 25% minority stake in Manchester United. INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe want to run Manchester United. They want to run the sporting side of Manchester United. What that means for the Glazers is that they just take their money. Every year they just take their share of the profits, but they don't run Manchester United. It's like an admittance from the Glazers, after what, nearly 25 years, is it 25 years or something like that, that they don't have a clue about football. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS own Nice. Now, it depends who you talk to. Some people think that Nice has been a failure under INEOS and Sir Jim. Some people think they've done a good job. And finally now, they're turning a corner. Nice is a very small club as well. So you can't compare whatever's happened there with what could potentially happen at Manchester United. I predict if this 25% minority stake from INEOS and Sir Jim goes through, Sir Jim or someone that INEOS appoint could actually be named as the new chairman, new CEO, whatever, of Manchester United. And that person would be running the sporting side of Manchester United. So in all intents and purposes, basically INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be running the footballing side, the sporting side of Manchester United. So what's better? Qatar owning everything, or Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS running the sporting side, but Glazer ownership still, basically the Glazers would have a majority stake, but they would be silent majority stakeholders, just like what AT&T are doing over at Warner Brothers Discovery. AT&T are majority shareholders, but they're silent majority shareholders at Warner Brothers. It's the same thing. In all intents and purposes, INEOS and Sir Jim would be running the footballing side, and they would look to appoint someone to run that sporting side, someone who understands football. So, obviously, Qatar have deep pockets. They would pay off all the debt. They would buy all the players that we wanted. We'd have the best stadium. It would be amazing on the footballing side. But English football is going state owned. And of course, it's a big worry because after all, it is English football. But ultimately, every business person has got an element of corruption in their history. So whether it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Qatar or B Sky B or whatever company that you think smell of roses when they fart, they're all as bad as each other. There isn't some superhero ownership coming to rescue Manchester United. What I'm saying to you is that, in my view, and this is my view, I believe, even though I was gutted on Saturday, and I was like a lot of you saying Manchester United are fucked because this Qatar deal has fallen through, and Qatar, would have been great for Manchester United in terms of having the power and financial strength of City, of a Newcastle, even a Chelsea. But look at Chelsea, look at the money they've spent. It's not working out. But it could end up working out if they start doing things in the right way. And the manager they've got there now, whatever his, what's his name? I forgot. Poch, that's it. How can I forget Pochettino? But he's a good manager, and in the end, he will get it right there and spend the money in the right way and advise them in the right way. But I do think, despite being disappointed that we're not going to have the deep pockets of Qatar, I do think the Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe situation can work. I know you're probably shouting at your screens or your devices or whatever you're watching this on right now. So what I'm saying to you is I would have been ecstatic with Qatar coming in. I don't have loyalty to either of these scenarios. I want the best for Manchester United. You're saying, well, Qatar would have been the best for Manchester United. It could have worked out very, very well. It could have ended up really badly. We'll never know. Or, who knows, Qatar may come in the final act with a higher bid. This could all be another bluff, because this is something I always believed, that, the Glazers were just bluffing with Sir Jim just to get Qatar to bid more. This could be yet another bluff. So there could be more twists in this ownership or investment saga as we get into the final straits of it. It's been a very interesting saga in the past year. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand business and don't understand how these things are done. So, at the end of the day, the Glazers own Manchester United. They have every right to want as much money as possible for the club. I don't agree with the way they ran our club, the way they won't fix the stadium and things like that. It hasn't been great. I do not like the Glazers. I don't make excuses for them, but I also don't make excuses for our manager losing 1-0 to Palace and losing to Galatasaray and blaming the owners instead of the manager. I know when to blame the owners and I know when to blame the coach at the end of the day. A lot of fans today don't understand those differences. So let's just say Ineos buy a minority stake of 25% and put their own person to run Manchester United, the sporting side, and the Glazers are silent majority shareholders. I think this could actually work if Ineos actually appoint the right people to run the sporting side of Manchester United. Is it ideal? No. But it can still work, right? We'd still be in debt. But the debt will be basically Ineos would take that debt rather than that debt being on the club. But fans are not going to be happy. I'm not happy. I want the Glazers out. I don't want this debt sitting over us for the next 20 to 30 years. But unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of people queuing up to buy a Manchester United because it's not a buyer's market right now. And that's a shame. Really, it's only these Middle Eastern people who are interested in buying, football clubs because they're the only ones who have the deep pockets and have money to burn. But we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But whether, Qatar come back in or whether Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe end up owning this minority stake in the club, I still think either scenario can still benefit the club. It's not ideal, it's utterly depressing, but this is where we are. So, let's see what happens next.